SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heave one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Dory! It's Dory! Got a touchdown! Dory got a touchdown! Oh, man! Dory's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium and Gale. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
In all kinds of weather, Nick Delatorre is not here.
Yeah, Nick is not here. Nick is gone missing on us. I'm sure who will join us shortly. But right now, it's
his time to shine. It's a negative situation he can really thrive on, and he's not here. He's letting the people down a little bit.
I'm telling you what, man, he missed the time that he had to stand up for special teams, and now he's the one that was calling for the Gators to lose against Kentucky, and he's not here. So at least he's an equal opportunity misser of the pod.
Yeah, he keep it consistent. He keep it consistent, man. We'll see if he pops in here. He may be still sleeping in. We don't know. It's been a rough weekend for the Gators. But how you feeling? How was your weekend, man? I seen you on
saw you Friday.
Yeah.
So you were in Tampa. We swung over, met you at Hattrick's for a little while. Sorry, it was a few minutes later than I thought. Work was kicking my butt Friday afternoon.
All good. What an establishment, Hattrick's.
Yeah. That place is incredible, isn't it? Good.
I walked in at I walked in at 1:32, and it was jumping on a Friday. So I don't know the hockey schedule, anything that's going on. Yeah. Like, what the hell's going on? This place is packed for a random 1:30 Friday, And then our mans came in from Fango.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff, shout out my guy Jeff. He met us over there, and he kind of broke it down. No, we got a hockey game tonight, so this is the main spot in Tampa where people come kick it at before the games, after the games. It was a whole vibe, man. So, and the grouper is never bad when I'm in Tampa.
No. It's a great spot, man. It's one of my favorites. I live a couple blocks away, so I'm there probably once a week. I was actually there on both Friday and Saturday. This week saw you Friday, went back Saturday, but no, it's a great spot. If you're ever in Tampa, great bar food. It's like an elevated bar food, but it's a great place to be. If it's right next to downtown, or it's in downtown, right next to kind of all the office buildings and stuff downtown. But right before hockey games, it's one of the only places. There's a few now, but it's been there for a long time now. So it is the hockey bar of choice for Tampa. Pardon me, but it's a great spot. Some great food. Great tools if that's what you're looking for as well. So
very good eye candy in that place if you're into aesthetics. Great place to stop by just to check out the decorations,
just to look around.
If you pick it up with them now, a little window shopping. Never hurt nobody.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you a quick story. Saturday morning, I put this on Twitter, but Saturday morning, I play around of golf, and we were going to get done right as the Gator game was going to get started. So I get there, and it's me and my buddy that I always play, or two guys that I always play with, and then there's a fourth in our group that I'd never met before. So I get there. I didn't know who the fourth person was. So I'm there before my two friends are there. So I get my stuff put in a golf cart. It's one of those places where they strap the bag in there for you. So anyway, I get there, go pay. Go run into the pro shop for a second, come back out, and they're like, oh, by the way, the guy that you're with is here, so we're going to move your bag from this cart to this other one. I said, all right, cool. So the driving range is 10 feet away from where hole number one is. So we all tee off on hole one, pipe the drive right down the middle. It's beautiful. Anyway, we go to driving away, and about a second and a half into it, I just hear a thud on the ground. I look back, and my golf clubs are on the ground. And so I pick it up, and my driver is snapped in half. So I look back at there's this what's called a starter there. He calls everybody out for their tee time. I look back at him. I put my hands in there. I'm like, what's going on here? He's like, we'll handle it later. So get around to hole 9. And he takes my golf club. He's like, we'll just give you a new one. I'm like, well, as nice as that would be so I could finish my round, it was, not flexing here, but it was a custom fitted driver for me. He's like, I'll be back. So like 4 holes later, he comes by and says, our pro shop guy isn't here today, which is information he also could have shared earlier. He'll be in touch. I said, well, he doesn't have a way to get in touch with me. My buddy's a member of the club, and I don't know how we're going to do this. He's like, I said what I said. Joe will be in touch. I said, all right. So I am currently waiting for a phone call this morning to hopefully get a new driver. If not, I'm going to go scorched earth. So I might use this platform to encourage people not to golf there again. But until we get a resolution, but that is not the way that I wanted to start my Saturday. Then the Gators get demolished. Then the Miami Dolphins put up just an abomination of a game yesterday.
I tried to warn you guys about them Dolphins, man.
This is just not a day, not a sports weekend for Dan the Man, but we'll be back at it this week. Hopefully it can only go up from here.
It could, I don't know. We'll see. It could possibly go down, Count your blessings, bro. When it's high, you ride it high, bro. When it's low, it's low these days, bro. That's how it go. But condolences to your driver. Sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah, same. It's like a year old too. Right? I got one swing out of it, but I guess the good thing about it is my final swing with it was a great drive down the middle. So let's get into the game. Man, oh man, not what we thought we'd be talking about. But Silk, before we do that, do want to thank you for setting everything up in Gainesville on Tuesday. If you guys haven't listened or haven't watched, go check our collaboration out with the Gator Nation Football Podcast. James and Alan, awesome time. Really, really great time being with those guys. We'll do it again. You guys received it really well. I thought our chemistry was elite.
Vibish, man. No docket. That was just all off the cuff. Like, we had no pre-show notes. No, we didn't share anything. We just sat down, cut the cameras on. Shout out to my guy Lion, our videographer and creative director at the Roll Up Network. Super good with the visuals. Our sound is gonna be better next time. We just thought we was gonna have a more quieter environment over at the social. That didn't work out. We appreciate the hospitality, but we'll have a quieter environment next time, so the audio will be a little bit more crisper. But enjoyed that whole conversation, the vibes, real football talk mixed with some personality. Them guys do a great job over there, and I thought we did a good job of collaborating. We're gonna do more of that.
Absolutely. So if you haven't, go check it out. Go listen to it. Go follow and support those guys as well. They're awesome individuals doing great stuff for our community of podcasting. Sorry about that. So let's get into the show. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Gatorverse. Go visit Gatorverse.io and get your signed Trevor Etienne digital collectible. They're also working with the volleyball team and women's basketball team, as well as adding players on a pretty consistent and regular basis. Go support Gatorverse.io. That's GATAVERSE.io. And we are going to be giving away 5 signed digital collectibles for Trevor Etienne here in the next couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. Beyond supporting NIL, you're also going to get access to some great discounts and coupons around Gainesville when you do go visit. So again, Gatorverse.io. So let's give, we have Chris Sorley with a super chat. Gents, let's take a moment of silence for the attempted murder on Saturday. And all God's people said, amen. We will take that collective moment of silence now. All right, we're back. Saying thanks, Chris. Please, while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page and throw a like button on there. It is free. So Silk, Gators get absolutely humbled against Kentucky. Let's get your high-level thoughts here. 33-14 final score.
Oof, my thoughts definitely had to be high this weekend. I had to take it there, bro. It was a rough outing. It started from the go. We get into a third and long hole on our first drive. Somehow we managed to run for a first down, but then we get a holding call. It was like 3rd and 15. Montreal Johnson runs one for first down. They call holding on Khalil Jackson, which was an egregious call, like watching it, but it is what it is. Refs are going to happen. I'm not going to blame the refs or anything, but that drops us back 5 more yards. We couldn't pick up the first down, but we punt the ball. And I'm thinking, like, right now, field position type of situation. I want to see where we land at here. We punt the ball, it goes to their 10, which I'm like, oh man, he crushed the kick. My defense, yeah, these boys not about to go 90 yards on my defense. Ain't no damn way. We about to get the ball back with decent field position. That's my line of thought there. Them boys marched the ball 90 yards, man, running down our throat, and that was a bad sign from go. But wasn't ready to quit on anything. I thought we were still in fine shape. We're just adjusting, do what we got to do. But it was just more the same. We couldn't stop the run. We couldn't tackle anybody, and we couldn't run the ball. Our offensive line wasn't blocking a soul. From an energy standpoint, just super flat. In my belief, bro, when you go on the road, obviously this team is feeding off the energy from the stadium, right? They're talented. We've seen the ceiling of what they could be, or somewhat of the ceiling of what they could be when things are humming. First half of Tennessee, we saw that, and we all as fans, got a little giddy about what this team could look like when everything's hitting a little bit. But it's this game, we didn't have the home crowd. And just looking back at the Tennessee game, this team fed off of that. When we go on the road, what energy are they feeding off of? Our coach is very flat. That's one of the things. We can get into the X's and O's and the stats and all of that, but just from what I was seeing, we need some energy from somewhere when you're on the road. It ain't coming from. We don't have a rah-rah guy like a Tim Tebow that's getting the players hyped up. I like Austin Armstrong on defense, and you can see the energy. And those guys feed off of him a little bit, but energy was down. The game plan was weak. Trey Wilson was put on the depth chart for just games to be played between coaches. It wasn't any substance to it, so that was a letdown. Caleb Douglas is a playmaker. We should throw him on 50-50 balls, especially when the offense is struggling. Like his success rate with the 50-50 ball is pretty good. Etienne, those carries, we tried to lie for Billy last week, and it didn't work out this week. I don't like the even carries. Even though our offensive line wasn't blocking well, the stats have shown that Etienne breaks more tackles. So even if the line's not blocking well, he's still your better back. So like a lot of things just not making sense from that standpoint. The offensive coordinator thing, we've all been on board with that at this point. We know it's not going to happen in the middle of the season but like it's time to we got a season to play out, but at this point we kind of see what this is. We need a special teams coach. We need an offensive coordinator, and to be able to get both of those on the staff, you're gonna have to blow this up a little bit. But that's my overall view from it. The team was soft, unprepared, and when we go on the road, we look like a complete shit show.
Yeah, no, Soki mentioned Gators are 1-7 under Billy Napier on the road, 8-2 at home. Obviously, numbers that you don't like to see, but being 1-7 away, obviously the Gators do play a tough schedule, but you're going to have that schedule every year for the rest of your time coaching at the University of Florida, and you are always going to have at least 5 away games every year. So Florida's got to figure out a way to get more energetic, more enthusiastic. I know that there was a couple players that mentioned that the game was at noon instead of the later kickoffs. You got to figure out a way to get jacked up and energized for that game, because you have those 3.5 hours. You don't get to play the game again. You have to be jazzed up and ready to go at the time you're ready to get kicked off. And, I can understand being a little bit slow out of the gate, but to be slow the entire game, you look at the score 33-14. I don't even know if it was that close, to be honest with you. I don't think that there was really a time that I ever thought that UF could really get in the game and put themselves in a sustainable position to be able to return back into the game. Just overall, a really rocky performance. And, you start to look back on it, Florida didn't look great against Utah. Obviously, McNeese State, they moved the ball in the first, during that game very, very well, especially in the first, 3 quarters. Tennessee, they look great on offense in the first half, really go conservative in the second half. Again, Charlotte, they move the ball, aren't able to punch it into the end zone. And then this Kentucky game. So again, Florida has a couple of good halves this entire season. Other than that, it's either been conservative or pretty lackluster. And so it's starting to create some cause for concern and wonder what's happening, with the team right now. I know it's young, but at some point in time, you have to be able to capitalize on that momentum, and they're not been able to do that this far.
Yeah, it's some of our older guys just got to step up at some point. We still got some holdovers from the Mullen era, but Princely is that's my guy. But bro, you're not playing big boy football right now. You're not playing You know, I see the PFF and all of that, dog.
Mhm.
But when you cut the tape on, like it was sometimes he just got to crash down and just put his helmet in somebody's chest. He's just not doing that. So like even Jalen Kimber, he's an older guy at this point. He's not a young guy on his roster. And the tackling from him, Miguel Mitchell, like I don't care about the age of these guys and COVID seniors and all of that, bro. Like when you're coming up tackling with your arms and hands, like I'm to a youth movement in the secondary as well. At this point, you know, you got Miguel Mitchell. He ain't tackling nobody. He ain't making no plays. Put Bryce Thornton in the game. If Jalen Kimber is not going to tackle nobody, put Jakeem Jackson in the game. Like we go full youth movement. If we're going to get embarrassed on the road by Kentucky, like same thing with defensive end. Princely, my guy. But if you're not doing your job on every down, not just passing down, not when it's just, you know, it's all smooth and you about to pass rush, but every down you got an assignment to do. And there was some times where he needed to like run into that offensive guard and he was shying away from that type of action. You know, play the young boys. Like, what are we talking about here? Put Searcy in the game, put Kelby in the game, Kelby Collins, put somebody else in the game that won't contact, man. I'm on the youth movement if these older guys don't want to perform. We just got some holdover from some older guys and some leadership that we're clearly not getting.
Yeah, no, the Gators missed 19 tackles against Kentucky. They missed 7 versus Charlotte, 11 against Tennessee. They're up to 46 on the season, had 132 in 13 games last year, so a little bit more than 10 per game. And right now the Gators are averaging just a hair under 10 missed tackles per game. Not where you want to be. Obviously, we've seen some improvement in the first 4 games of the season on defense, and we thought we were turning the corner against Utah. They only had 3 missed tackles. Against McNeese, they had 6. Tennessee was 11. You can play with that number a little bit if you want, if you bring that number down. But to have 19 against Kentucky, and a lot of those missed tackles were plays that allowed them to go the distance. And so Florida's got to figure out a way to learn to tackle better. They've got to put themselves in a position to tackle. But the Gators just looked porous and poor on defense the entire game. Let's talk a little bit about
I thought they adjusted a little bit better in the second half. I would give them a little credit, you know, to some type of adjustment because they got some stops. Like first half, they was just, you know, it was a butter going through knife the first half. Second half, we got some stops, and then the offense just came out super flat and got nothing done with those stops. So it never felt like we could get anything going because no unit was ever no 2 units was ever clicking at the same time. You need 2 units, special teams and offense, special teams and defense to click. And obviously we didn't get that. We got some good punting for a little bit there out of Kershaw.
Yeah, no, so the Gators give up 260 yards or 280 yards, pardon me, to Ray Davis, who last year also torched the Gators at Vanderbilt. So he's a guy that just was atrocious, or not atrocious. Pardon me. He was incredible for Kentucky, and the Gators.
Atrocious for us.
Tackling him was atrocious. Yeah. So 280 yards, amongst the most the Gators have ever given up to a single running back ever in the history of their 100 and some odd years, 130 years of playing football. He had 3 touchdowns, 10.8 yards per carry. He had 1 long of 75, which just went right down the middle. And at that point, I think that's when I thought, hey, this game is just not going to go any way that the Gators wanted to.
Man, I never been so happy to leave a Gator game in my life, bro. I was so happy my son had a 4:00 game and I had to drive to Fort Pierce. I'm gonna watch the massacre the entire time. Like I'm a sick guy, so I'll watch a blowout. Like if we're losing, it is what it is. But that was, you know, I was relieved to have to get away from that because that was just terrible football. I've never seen us play that bad versus Kentucky in my entire life. Like just from an energy standpoint.
We were out physical the entire game too. I mean, I think that's something that I noticed is that our offensive line was getting absolutely destroyed by their defensive line. Our defensive line, was unable to make a lot of movement on their offensive line. Devin Leary is a guy that just didn't look very good leading up into this game. Their offensive line didn't look very good leading up into this game. And I don't know if it was all a ruse for the first 4 games or they're going to look like they don't have any idea of what they're going to do and finally put it together. But whatever it was, that Kentucky team looked a hell of a lot better. And I don't know if it was the way that Florida played it, or if it was the way that Kentucky just was hitting on all cylinders, but whatever it was, Florida looked absolutely manhandled in both trenches. And if you get manhandled in both sides of the trenches, you're never going to win that game.
No, that's facts. Another thing that's annoying me is the play action. Like cut it out. Like there's just we're turning our back to the defense way too much. Like Mertz need all the time he can to process, especially with that offensive line. You having terrible offensive line play, and you keep having your quarterback turn his back to the defense. It's just, you know, it's played at this point. And we're not gonna see any adjustment from Napier. I don't know if people are asking for something that's just not gonna happen, and that to me that's just mental illness. The only adjustment we're gonna see is towards the end of the year if the staff changes are made and we blow this thing up a little bit. But I'm not expecting the tendencies of what we're doing to change. You know, everybody cried about Anthony Richardson all last year, and I tried to tell them people, like, we'll see what it looks like when he's gone. And since he's to blame, I know he's inaccurate, he has his inabilities, but he's doing all right in the NFL, and he's going to be okay as a pro. The offense is limited a lot with what Billy's calling and what he's asking these guys to do. You know, like we need an offensive coordinator. I like him as a CEO. I like the way he's recruiting. I like the way he hires. But I do not like the game time prep. I don't like the game plans. I don't like the energy from, like, he needs to, and whoever that OC, they need to have some type of spunk and some energy about him. Because he's just, that may be his thing. That's cool. Bill Belichick is a real calm guy, but he's winning. So, like, people don't really criticize it like that. But when you're losing and then you just calm on the sidelines, like, we're used to seeing Nick Saban chew people out. You know, you used to seeing whoever it is in college football, like, they're gonna go have a conversation with players that are making mistakes ongoing. And I don't see nobody holding each other accountable on those sidelines. We watch Swamp Kings, you watch Brandon Spikes and all those guys. It was accountability from, you know, your assignment, and then it may get physical if that shit if the conversation ain't go well. But right now, there's no accountability, you know, from special teams to everything else. It's just a free for all. Like, nobody's been. I'm just gonna keep regurgitating the same stuff, but nobody's been held to any type of standard whatsoever when it pertains to, you know, depth chart, snaps. Like, if players not making plays, like, next man up.
No, Soak, I think that you make a good point, and I know that there was some discussion on the timeline about what the Gator standard is, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But no, I think that you're right. I think that for a coaching staff that is obviously very detail oriented, there's a lot of details that seem to go missing. It's a very penalized team. They do get caught up in some penalties, some unique penalties. I know that they got the leaping penalty on the punt that Kentucky had deep in their own end as well. But a team's not very disciplined. There does not seem to be a ton of accountability that you see visually. Not saying that there's not in the film room and in the practice room, but on the sideline, doesn't seem like there's a ton of accountability being shown. And maybe we don't see it all, but as somebody that's been in numerous games with the ability to look at the sideline, it does seem like it's pretty removed from, you know, that kind of game day coaching, that game day hype, and that, you know, responsibility to say, hey, if you're not going to be able to do this, then somebody else has to at least give it a go and give it a shot. So let's go kind of through some things here. We talked about missed tackles. Scooby Williams is the leader this season with 9. Miguel Mitchell has 7. Shamar James 4. And then the rest just kind of moved down into the 3-2-1 range. So obviously missed tackles is something that the Gators are going to need to work on a ton. It's not to say that you can't have missed tackles in a game, but to have 19 and 11 in your last 2 SEC games is just not going to get the job done, especially when you're a team that doesn't have the ability to really come back very quickly, right? Florida was down big and still running 5, 6, 7-minute drives, and it's just, you need to have the ability to be able to get some explosive plays. I know that Graham Mertz tried a few times to get the ball down the field, but you just don't see it enough. Florida's very methodical in the way that they do their huddles, lining up. They bleed a lot of clock. I understand that that's going to be your offense, but at some point in time, you have to be able to switch when you are down. And I fear that Florida's just not a team that, unless they score first or score twice first, that they're ever going to be able to come back in a game on.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
On defense, let's see here. The top rated defensive player. Sorry, let me just pull it up here for the Gators. They get the game log here. Sorry. Pull this up real quick. Schedule. Sorry, I know this is real time. And so on defense, so do you have any highlights while this is pulling up in terms of players that you thought played well?
Play well on defense, man. It's hard. It's hard to give anybody flowers after giving up 260, whatever, 80 yards, whatever it was, rushing. Just a bad performance altogether. Can't even get my secondary props because they didn't have to pass to beat us. So, it's safer to drive, bro. So they drove the car all the way down the field on us with no risk and took care of business. Bro, I have no flowers for the defense, bro.
So you'll get a kick out of this in a second, but your top 5 guys on Pro Football Focus: Princely, Desmond, Jackson, Jason Marshall, and then Shamar James. Princely was far and away, and Desmond Watson, who only played 15 snaps, and then everybody else kind of bleeds down there. The Gators, terrible. They have 7 guys that ranked a 31.9 or below in terms of tackling, not where you want to be. Jason Marshall is the only guy that ranked pretty highly. Against Princely did as well. They both had 3 tackles each, but a lot of
I don't know how they grade these dogs. When I cut the tape on, bro, it's just like Princely grades well, every week. And I don't know how they grade this stuff. It's a lot of like nerd stuff that I don't comprehend. But when I watch the game, there's some missing football stuff that he's just not doing on run, specifically on run. And when even when in his pass rush, if he's not hitting on all cylinders, it's just not there. And we're lacking a pass rush. I know they didn't pass a lot, but we're lacking a true pass rush. And if he's not hitting on all cylinders, it's even worse. So I get the grades, and none of our defense grade out that high. So him being the highest, I don't know, like if it's like being the tallest midget or something. But it's just there's a lot missing there, and he's got to play like tougher football if he's trying to be a first-round draft pick or second-round draft pick. You got to play tougher football at defensive end.
Yeah, I don't think that you see that. There's a couple plays of his where it looked like he was very happy to just be in the position to do his assignment and get blocked and not move off of that. So defense obviously looks just atrocious in that game as a whole. Let's get some final numbers here. So again, they had 280 yards rushing through Ray Davis. They had almost 400, 398. They only have 69 yards through the air on 9 of 19 passes. Kind of reminds you of that Georgia Southern game where they didn't complete a pass, but only allowing 69 yards passing out of Devin Leary, which I guess you could say is good. But if you don't need it, then what does that mean, right? So, but 36 rushes for them, 329 yards, 9.1 yards per rush. Gators, like I said, 10 penalties for 86 yards. Kentucky, only 3 penalties for 25. Gators do lose the turnover battle. Again, Graham Mertz's second interception of the year, the second time this season that it goes through the receiver's hands and the ball does get turned over. And I think both of those turned into points this season as well. Let's go to offense. Before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friend Jeff over at FanGo Tickets. Go visit fangotickets.com. We have helped facilitate a number of ticket sales through the platform. They are looking for those that want to put their season tickets up for the Lightning, the Bucks, or the Florida Gators, or if you live in Ohio, the Cleveland Browns and Ohio State as well. Go visit FanGo Tickets. It is going to be the best place for you to list your tickets. There is no fees for you for the first 100 people that list on the platform, and there's no fees to the buyer as well. So it's a great place to go get your tickets. Again, fangotickets.com. Go support a UF alumni in this new endeavor.
Snell in the comments. I see you, Shannon. What did it do, my boy?
There he is, Shannon Snell, Gator legend. All right, so let's get into the offense. A lot to talk about there. From a statistical perspective, Gators have 313 yards, 244 through the air. Graham Mertz goes 25 of 30, 8.1 yards per pass. Again, we mentioned the interception. On the opposite end of Kentucky, 69 yards passing, the Gators get just 69 yards rushing, 2.4 yards rushing on 29 rushing attempts. So, Silk, you got to get your thoughts on what the hell is happening with this offense right now and this rushing attack.
A whole lot of mid.
Yeah.
A whole lot of mid, bro. The offensive line, you can't run nothing with that offensive line. I thought having Kingsley back would sure some things up, but, bro, everybody on my offensive line was getting their shit pushed in. Excuse my language. Like, nobody was winning battles. Like, they was pretty much doing what they wanted to do on my offensive line the entire game. And then the passing offense is going to be stale. You know, the pass, the receiving route concepts is just not hitting. We run a lot of intermediate comebacks, drag routes. You know, we're not taking anything deep. On our deep opportunities, even though a lot of them were successful, I seen Ricky Pearsall get behind the defense. You know, even if he would have caught that diving pass, we got a penalty, so that didn't matter. He missed on the early connection to Caleb Douglas on a deep route, which would have been pivotal. If we would have hit that, then, you know, it's probably a different football game.
That's a momentum changer, right?
Correct. If you hit that, you go, it'd have been 10-7, you know, and that changes the whole vibe of the team a little bit. So you missed that throw. I don't think you just quit on that, man. You got guys beating these dudes deep, and then Caleb Douglas won a 50-50 ball. So, like, you just got to open it offense up. Like, what do you have to lose at this point? Being efficient and losing don't make sense. You know, like, you got to let Mertz go out there, and if he has a game where he looks terrible, who cares at this point? We've seen him look efficient and play within the offense and the range that you want. We're down 2 scores, 3 scores, bro. Open the offense up, just methodically lining up, you know, to run whatever plays we're running. It's just like no pace to the game, no feel to it. You need an offensive coordinator. Like, there's just no way around it at this point.
Yeah. No, I think that you're hitting the nail on the head. I don't know if and when that's going to happen. I don't imagine that you see any sort of transfer of power. I don't know how the Gators offensive situation works right now in terms of the way the play calls go in. I don't know each coach's responsibility. Obviously, Rob Sale is on paper your offensive coordinator. We know Billy calls plays. We know Russ Callaway, your tight end coach, has called plays in his background over at Samford. Billy Gonzalez has obviously been, you know, heavily involved in creating offenses. I think he was a pass game coordinator at LSU when he left Florida. So there's some experience there. But right now, Florida's not figuring it out on offense. And I know the offensive line, an area that we were somewhat confident in, the starting 5 going into the season. I know they haven't played a ton of snaps this year together. This is the first time you saw all 5 of them together, and it just looked bad. Austin Barber had a really bad game. The right side of the line just doesn't look great as well. But from everything that the Gators need to do on offense, they don't give Graham a ton of time to make plays. So I agree with you with turning your back to the field, and then the Gators have like 2 seconds to throw the ball. So you're never going to be able to get those deep routes completed if you only have 2 seconds to throw the ball as well. So Florida's got to figure out something with the deficiencies that they have on offense to try to figure out a way to move the ball. Right now, Montrell Johnson just doesn't seem like that guy. I know that he's probably a better pass blocker than Trevor Etienne is right now, but what we've seen out of him this year, I mean, I'm baffled that we haven't seen anything about what we saw out of him at Louisiana and then his first year at Florida, but we're not seeing anything there, and he's still getting a bulk of those carries on offense. I don't know if there's something with Trevor Etienne. I don't know if he is got some sort of nagging injury or whatever it is, but Florida's got to get the ball to their playmakers if they're going to want to win in the SEC this year. And right now, I'm just not seeing a lot of it to write home about on offense.
Yeah. I also think like I'm with the youth movement at receiver as well. Andy Jean, Caleb Douglas is going to be out for a few weeks here. I think I don't think they disclosed the exact injury, but it may be an ankle sprain. A high ankle sprain is what I'm hearing. But Andy Jean needs to get more snaps. Like, I don't mind seeing Aiden Mazzell. We got to stretch the field. Like, you're only going to help Etienne out by doing that. I think Montreal's struggling because the line was better last year, and he could get downhill. He's a step slower out of his stance than Etienne. Etienne gets to the hole quicker, and he has better feet. And that's just what it is. They have different skills. I think if the line was better and Montreal could get downhill, his vision, balance, he'd be able to get some of that off, but he can't even get going with this offensive line. So he's definitely struggling. And I think the better fit right now for more carries is just Etienne. Our offense, every game that we've won, he has gotten off. Like in like the games he was successful last year, those are the games we won and thrived in. You can't get away from what works. Graham Mertz had one interception, and that was a throw that was across the middle. It hit Arlis Bornham in his hands. I thought he should have came down with it. Even though it's a risky throw, this is big boy football. We all been wanting to see Arlis play. Freshmen are going to make mistakes, but you got to come down with that catch as well. That was a catch that moved the sticks, and now it's an interception, man. That's just rough. Like, we just put in terrible position with penalties. Even with we didn't talk about this, but the special teams play. I went to the bathroom, bro. I'm like, oh man, perfect turnover. We get the ball back. Bathroom break. I come back from the bathroom and they got 7 points. I'm like, what just transpired? And I see the replay, and DeJon Johnson, he made a mistake, freshman mistake on special teams, but our mistakes turn right around into 6 points. Like Karma spin the block or whatever it is. Our mistakes spin the block real quick and hunt us right away. Not later in the game. Like the next play, this guy breaks for a touchdown when our defense just got off the field.
Yeah,
so we just not buying a break right now at all. On the road is just atrocious. We'll see if it changes. We got Vanderbilt at home. If we had Vanderbilt on the road again, I'd be shooketh.
Yeah. And I do want to give, and we'll talk a little bit more about special teams here in a second, but I know Devin Moore was getting a little smoke for his PAT return energy and speed. I don't know if those folks that were criticizing Devin Moore's speed there at the end, but he was the guy that from the opposite side of the field was trying to chase down Ray Davis 45 seconds before that PAT just happened. So you have a guy that just ran probably 90 yards, go out there and then pick up the ball and then run another 40. These guys aren't machines. They're not robots. That's not a cardio issue. That's just an exhaustion issue, right? And Florida had been gashed all game on defense already. So I want to give Devin Moore credit for doing the best that he could. And, that Kentucky kicker, I don't know if he's been working on 40s when he's not kicking the ball, but he had some giddy up to him as well.
Definitely a soccer player.
Shout out to Devin Moore for giving the best shot that he could.
He definitely plays other sports and trains. He's in shape, bro. I wonder if Kershaw can run that fast. I need to see what his 40 look like, just in case.
Just in case.
But anyway, that was a tough for Devin Moore. And people just jump to like, oh, they take so quick. Damn, Devin Moore is slow. Like, nah, he's not slow, bro. He just ran 100 yards damn near, and then had to try to run another 100 to score a touchdown, bro. It sounds easy on Twitter, but in real life, it actually takes. Those guys are athletes too, bro.
Shannon, we see your comment there. We're going to heart that. We'll get back to that here in a second. Trevor Etienne, despite everything, only gets 29 yards on 11 attempts. Montreal Johnson, 42. He did have one longer run pulled back from him. Graham Mertz, one carry for 25 yards. From a receiving perspective, we mentioned Gators had 245 yards passing, 9.8 yards per reception there. Montreal Johnson catches 6. Trevor Etienne catches 4. Those are your two leading receivers, both in terms of targets and receptions. I think that kind of shows what the Florida offense is. A lot of those swing passes, a lot of those passes behind the line of scrimmage there. Khalil Jackson of your wide receivers has the most catches. He has 3 catches for 41 yards. Caleb Douglas has 1 catch for 34 yards. Great catch, great job going up in the air to get that. Does suffer the injury after that. Hayden Hansen, he gets a touchdown. Ricky Pearsall, 62 yards on 3 catches for 62 yards. Touchdown. Andy Jean, 4 catches for 33 yards. So that Montreal Johnson and Trevor Etienne, as well as Montreal Johnson, all had 4 catches or more. So I thought Andy Jean looked okay. Obviously, when he caught the ball, when he was moving, he did well. Some blocking could be improved there, but overall, just not the way that you want to vertically move the ball down the field if you want to win these games. And then Arlis Sportingham, ball goes right through his hands. He has 2 catches for 7 yards in the one reception that he didn't have. The ball gets picked off, and Kentucky returned it down to, I think, like the 15-yard line after that. So not a great game for Arlis Boardingham. Silk, any thoughts on the receivers other than just what we talked about?
Let them boys fly down the field. That's my take. Even Arlis, man, like he getting matchups with some favorable stuff. Like run them deeper. If I'm a defensive back, I'm not getting out of my stance a lot for some of the stuff that we're running. You feel me? Like, because I already know, like, if I'm watching the film, everything is 15 yards and under.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really getting me out of my back pedal like that because you're kind of predictable. That's why, like, at this point in the season, there's film out. We didn't have any film on what the offense will look like with Graham Mertz. That film is out. There's plenty of it right now. Teams know we're not finna throw the ball down the field. We had few opportunities, and every opportunity down the field looked great. There wasn't one I was just like, damn, he wasn't open. Nah, bro. Like every attempt that we made down the field was an opportunity to make a big play, and then we're just not doing it.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to lead us right into our next point. Offensive line. Silk, I want to get your thoughts of the Gators' highest ranked players in run blocking. How many players do you think you have to go down until you get to an offensive lineman?
All of them? Like, what are you talking about?
7. There are 6 players that ranked higher on run blocking. You have
all of
Caleb
them.
Douglas, Andy Jean, Khalil Jackson, Ricky Pearsall, Jaquavion Frazier, Trevor Etienne, until you get to Lindell Hudson, who only played 8 snaps all game. And then Kingsley scores a 57.9. You go all the way down to Richie Leonard at a 52.4. Arlis Boardingham missed a number of assignments there. And then Hayden Hansen missed a number as well. Gators run blocking on the offensive line or on the offensive side of the ball is absolutely atrocious. These are some of the worst grades I've ever seen given by Pro Football Focus. I think you can see why when you look at how many yards the Gators were able to move the ball. But from a missed assignment perspective, from hurries allowed and pressures allowed, just a piss poor output from the offensive line. And I'm not criticizing them and their effort and energy level, but there is something that is drastically missing with having 2 coaches, one of which won a Super Bowl, the other of which that has been an offensive line coach for, I'm guessing, 20 some odd years now. You have 2 of them and you look uncoached. It's not even that they just are young. They just don't look like they know what they're doing. They're getting absolutely dummied in almost every game this season, or every game over the last 2 seasons, against a formidable defensive line, right? They didn't look great against Utah. They looked okay for the most part. From a pass blocking perspective again, or from a blocking perspective against Tennessee, not as great as you'd want to see against Charlotte. And then Kentucky dummied you. And you still have LSU, Georgia, Florida State. You still have a number of teams ahead of you that probably have just as good of a defensive line as Kentucky did. You got to figure it out.
Yeah, the elephant in the room is, like you said, the two offensive line coaches that are coaching this atrocious offensive line. They're not recruiting well at the position as well. And then one's an offensive coordinator in title, at least, where everybody's pretty much clamoring for at this point. So, that is the elephant in the room. And if there is some shakeup, then it's probably going to happen at that position. Like, having 2 coaches, not a lot of progress at the position, and then that title is going to have to go to another coach if we're making those type of changes. So that's my take of the offensive line. We need talent. I don't know if it's the 2 coaches, but we got to blow it up. We got to blow it up. But we definitely got to up the talent in the room. And I'm not just talking about high school recruiting, because we need guys that can play next year, because the schedule just get more brutal. So the transfer portal is going to be very key with who we bring in this offseason. They got to be way more aggressive with offensive line and getting capable guys in here with the right size, strength. I see people questioning the strength staff as well, but I don't know about that take yet. How do you feel about that? And we're gonna get to your question too. I like your question, Snell, but we'll get to that after we finish.
Snell, by the way, he said Kingsley still hurt, still around 60%. Unfortunate situation for the Gators that him at 60% is still better than what Florida has beyond that. I would love to see him try to get healthy, get up to 70, 80, 90. percent, but Florida's stuck using him. I'm sure he's getting some shots. In the ankle, he's playing through it. Looks like he's miserable out there. I get it. But that's a product of what you've now had 2 full recruiting cycles to try to figure out, plus a transfer portal. I hate that for Kingsley. I hate it more that that's our only option right now. Strength and conditioning. I don't think I have enough data to know. I don't think that Florida looks physically mismatched in terms of size, in terms of strength. I think they look physically manhandled, and I don't know if that's a strength issue or if that's a gumption, a want to, a will. I don't know. There's something there that doesn't seem to be clicking, right? I mean, beyond just strength and conditioning, Florida's got, some speed coaches. They've got other stuff. I think that all of that looks fine for what the talent that you have, on campuses, but I don't think that Florida's looks particularly small or looks particularly weak. I think that they just get manhandled, and that's probably an issue of coaching and technique more than it is, being able to throw up more weight on the bench press.
On which,
yeah. So I don't know. Let's see on offense again, just to kind of tap this out. Pass blocking, they do all right. Micah Mazuka graded really highly. Lindell Hudson graded well. Kingsley looked poor in pass blocking. According to this, Gators allow 6 pressures, 4 hurries, 1 sack, and 1 hit in this game. So Silk, before we get to special teams and close out this unfortunate loss to Kentucky, any final thoughts on offense?
Shit, man, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, if we keep struggling, like show me what Max Brown looked like. I'm not saying Graham Mercy's playing bad, but we need a spark, and we'll see. We'll talk about this Vandy game in a little bit, but you get a more mobile guy that could probably make something happen with his legs is what we could probably use an injection of if the offense don't kickstart here in a little bit. That's my overall take. Feed ETN more. If we can't get the spark on offense, go to another hand. I don't think that'll happen, but that's just my opinion on what I would like to see if our offensive line don't improve. The defensive lines that we face aren't going to get easier. So we got to make some type of adjustment. And I wouldn't mind seeing we'd play Charleston early in the season a little bit better. Then you get, Max Brown in to get some reps, and then we get another look at him. So it's hard to even say what he looks like. But right now the offense is just super flat. Nothing explosive is happening outside of ETN breaking big runs. So something's got to give.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be really, really hard to bench Graham Mertz. I think that he's playing right now very efficiently. I don't think that
I get it.
Yeah, I don't think that the problems are solved by having a slightly more mobile quarterback. If they're still breaking through that offensive line, you might buy another second, and maybe that does make some changes. I don't know anything about Max Brown to be able to give that opinion, but right now Florida's biggest issues are being able to block and being allowed a play to develop. Now, I don't know.
Graham hasn't played bad at all. I don't think he's played bad football. That's not what I'm saying.
I just don't think that he has enough time to really go through progressions. And I do think that easy swing pass is an easy solution to most problems. The problem is to that is that you're never going to be able to move the ball a long distance down the field, right? Unless you have a breakout play, you have somebody like a Trey Wilson or a Trevor Etienne that's able to make a couple, tacklers miss, then maybe you get some excess yards, but you can imagine that most of those swing passes are going to go for 4, 5, 6 yards. And then Florida becomes, a pretty methodical team. They'll try that run. Now they're at, 3rd and 3. They'll try it again. They'll probably get penalized somewhere along the way. So now it's 3rd and 9, 3rd and 13. And when you're in that position, you don't have a lot of options. I know there's some criticism about what Florida did on 3rd and long, or on Saturday. You don't have a lot of options. Florida doesn't have a lot of 15 and 18-yard plays when they can't even block for more than 2 seconds in their repertoire. A lot of it becomes a field position. So I want you guys to start thinking a little bit more critically when watching some of these videos about criticizing 3rd down play calling. But beyond just that, unless Florida is able to get an explosive play, likely behind the line of scrimmage where most of their passes go, I don't know what a QB does to change that. And I'm not saying that you're calling for Graham Mertz to be sat. I'm just saying Florida's issues are at the front of the line. And if they can't do anything there, then they're never going to be able to. You could have Peyton Manning back there. Well, that's not a great example. You could have Patrick Mahomes back there and probably not have a huge increase in success rate.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like I don't think he's playing bad football. My take is just like if offensive line can't protect, Graham Mertz, we're gonna end up seeing Max Brown anyway. The way they're blocking. To be real with you, I just think like we need some escapability for the offensive line that I just saw the past 2 weeks, because it wasn't just this Kentucky team. The week before it was just as ugly. We thought Kingsley would make it better. But I just think somebody's going to have to escape the pocket and be able to make something happen. And right now, Graham Mertz, I don't know, Max Brown turning his back to the defense may be just as detrimental. Like, who knows? That's just a taking, I think, a spark that could possibly happen in my mind, but I don't foresee it happening. But if you're struggling, I don't know, like, where you go to. We watched Steve Spurrier change quarterbacks over the years, different coaches. You go to the bench sometimes just to get a spark from something. Deep pass, deep play. Graham Mertz is playing not bad football, but he's leaving some points on the field here and there. Like, there are some throws he isn't hitting. So
yeah. And the Gators 2 losses this season. Just looked it up. They're the best rushing score that they've gotten in terms of offensive line has been a 64. Which is obviously not something that is going to be a recipe for success in their wins against Tennessee, Charlotte, and McNeese. Those numbers were substantially higher. I think the lowest score was higher than the Gators' highest ranked one. So obviously the Gators' entire identity is on the offensive line, being able to create holes for the rushing attack. And in both games that the Gators lost, they got demolished in both games. They looked piss poor in the run blocking game. So offense, not what we wanted. You have the opportunity to improve next week. Saw Trey Wilson was listed on the depth chart, did not play in this game. Not great work. Not sure if that's just a marketing ploy to try to get them to prepare for him or what, but that's unfortunate when you have a guy that you're excited about getting the opportunity to play gets 0 snaps out there. So not sure.
Did we see one jet sweep at all, even without him? Did Ricky get one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that helps our run game out a lot. And like not having Trey, I had Trey as my player of the game in the pregame. That they got me lying because Billy lying. Like, if you'd have told me the truth, I wouldn't have lied to y'all. But he told me the man was playing, so I was like, shit. If Trey playing, this is a perfect game to get off. But no, sir. Hey, my mic about to fall.
All right, let's see. Special teams. We'll go through that real quick. Obviously, the Gators get a penalty that flips the field for Kentucky, allow them to get a score in that game. Any thoughts on special teams there, other than that?
I think the only blunder we have was the John Johnson thing, right?
Yeah, we did, and we also do this thing that I've been noticing, and I don't know if it's a comfort thing. We don't do a great job of catching the ball on fair catches. We do a really good job of just kind of letting them go behind our head. And for whatever reason, Florida has had terrible luck this entire season, and that ball rolls for another 10, 15, 20 yards. Would love to see us try to get that fair catch a little bit more often, because the Gators are losing probably 30 or 40 yards a game just in that alone.
No, I'm with you on that. No, special teams. Yeah, I don't know why everybody harassed the coach yesterday like that much to make him like delete his Twitter and a lot of people speculating. Is he fired? No. Like, what's the word? He's not fired, right? He's
not fired.
Yeah. So Twitter is not real life, apparently. But
stop attacking people, right? You can be frustrated at the unit. Don't be frustrated. Don't threaten people. Don't wish ill will on people. They're just human beings. They're doing a job. I assure you that they want to do their job well. Maybe it doesn't work out, but wishing, and I know that they're kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of wishing the terrorist attack on the home and criticizing, the coach as an individual and as a person and calling him a fat slob and all this other stuff. Like, take the emotion of the person out of the position. Like, you can be critical and say, man, I wish that Florida had better special teams. I wish they could be better on offense. I wish they could do this differently. but stop
You can post the
criticizing.
Donald Trump shit where he's like, he's fired. Get his
Yeah.
ass out. Post shit like that, bro.
Yeah.
Vibe out a little bit, man. Have fun.
Yeah, but
bro.
stop threatening individuals. Like, this is not. This is a fan. You are a fan of a team. Maybe you went to school there. Maybe you didn't. You're rooting. You're cheering on a group of guys that you will likely never meet in your life, with a coaching staff that you will likely never meet in your life. That's going to transition every 4 or 5 years with the players, and right now, the way the Gators are playing, every 3, 4, 5 years with the coaching staff. Like, take in being a fan. You can cheer them on, but let's stop the personal attacks on folks. There's no reason that a coach should have to delete his Twitter because you're angry with the performance of a unit.
People that talk crazy on social media like that, like, just lacking grass touching. Like, everybody thinks it's a underrated thing, Dan. Like, you lose a sense of reality on these social media apps, man. You never been punched in the face. You never been in any real life controversy. So you think you can say anything to people and that shit flies. Nah, it doesn't fly, man. Even the people that are like co-signing, oh, this is Florida, this is what happens with this job. Nah, bro, that's not what happens, bro. Like, what are we talking about? Like, people lose games and say racist stuff. Is that what happens as well? Nah, disrespect is disrespect. And like, I'm never gonna co-sign disrespect, bro. Like, have some integrity and not curse these people out and talk about them like they ain't got families and stuff like that. It's not that serious. It's a game. Y'all unhinged as fuck. Go touch some grass, bro. Live a little.
Yeah. So I know that these positions are very visible. I know that they get paid a lot of money. They work a lot of hours. You're likely not the one contributing to their salary anyway. But I would hate for you to be in a position where you're at work and you make a mistake on your Excel spreadsheet, or you provide some faulty financial, analysis work, and somebody from the outside looking in is going to fire this guy. What is he doing? We got to blow up his house. We got to do this. These are people. They are doing a job. They will be handled in the way that their positions have a structure. They have responsibilities. There is a way to look back and say, hey, we didn't have a successful year. Maybe we choose to move on, but you have to judge them based on the on-field performance and what their responsibilities are. And you probably don't even know what most of their responsibilities are. You don't know what goes into being that coach, but it's not your responsibility to threaten them. And it's not your position to continue to break and tear them down. You can be mad. You can be critical at the output, but please, please, please keep their individual lives, keep their wives, their families, all of that, to the side. You do look unhinged. And there is a reason that Florida has that reputation. And you can say that all schools that are big fans of all of these big programs have unhinged fans. That's true, but don't be a part of that for Florida, right? Be the school or be the fan base that says, hey, you know what? I think that we can do better here. We may need to make a move or a change here at this position or that position. We might need to bring in an additional coach. Hey, maybe this person isn't doing what we think is the Gator standard. But other than that, keep the personal shit out of it. All right. There's no reason a coach should have to delete a Twitter because you continuously at him for being a fat slob and his team being bad.
Crazy. Tagging the coaches.
Unhinged. And if you don't think that reputation gets out there, then
of course
you're living in some sort of la land.
The McElwain death threats were like a thing as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, should McElwain have been fired? Yeah, get his ass out of here. Like I said, use the Trump meme and whatever. But like, threatening people's lives over football, I'm never going to make an excuse for it. I'm never going to enable it. It's sucker shit. Just like I said, people say racist things to some of these players, and we're supposed to tell the players, they got to be this big boy football. You should be able to take that. Nah, bro, it's nonsense. You guys are speaking like unhinged cavemen.
Absolutely. Well, glad we were able to get that off of our chest. That is something that we're talking about for a couple days now. Let's get into the Vanderbilt game. Shannon, we'll get to your question as well. Let's give a shout out to our friends over at Alumni Hall. If you are looking for anything Florida Gators related, whether that's t-shirts, polos, accessories, grilling utensils, Christmas ornaments, things for a baby shower, things for a wedding, whatever it might be, go visit alumnihall.com or go visit them on Archer Road in Gainesville, Florida. Again, our friends at Alumni Hall, Archer Road in Gainesville, right off of 75, or alumnihall.com. All right, Silk, the Gators play Vanderbilt, 4:00. We are back in the swamp. We are
another must win.
We looking to avenge a loss from last season. The Gators right now, I looked right before we started, 18.5-point favorites. I think the over under, I'll pull that up, but the Gators 18.5-point favorites. Vanderbilt does not look great this season. Over under right now is 54.5. So Gators lose last year, pardon me, in a very poorly played game in Nashville. I think kickoff was 11 o'clock last year in the morning there. So Gators look to avenge this, get to 4-2 on the season. Vanderbilt is not good. They are not a good team this year. They do have some they do have some players, and we'll go over a few of those. But Silk, give us your thoughts on this Vanderbilt game.
They're playing at home, so I feel a little better. This team does feed off of that home energy. But you just never know. This team has just been super inconsistent. Like the team that played at Charlotte could show up versus Vandy. So I just don't know what to expect. Just wait and see mode, watch it all play out. What I want to see a competent offense. Vandy, they don't have more talent than us. Like I know how bad our offensive line played. Like there's no reason they should struggle against Charlotte or Vandy, right? So like it just got to be some type of growth in that area. You want to see this team get better week by week. Whatever happened in our 2 L's that already happened. We're playing a lot of young guys, and a lot of our young guys are playing against some grown ass men. That don't mean there's a talent deficiency. It's just an experience deficiency. And our experienced guys just haven't been like coming through with that type of experience that we would want and that leadership that we want from older guys. So I just want to see young boys arrive, like start to show themselves, pause, and arrive on the scene with making big plays and giving those opportunities as well. If I got defensive backs that are not making tackles, play Jakeem Jackson. Somebody said Devin Moore is a safety on here. He's probably our best corner. I don't know why people keep calling him a safety, but he's our best corner. Jalen Kimber, I don't know what he was doing Saturday. I want to see Devin Moore start. Give me Devin Moore, and if Marshall starts struggling, put Jakeem in. Let's see what the effort look like. Let's see if he wants to put a hat on the hat and take a man to the ground and play some football. Running game, feed ETN. Get him the ball early and often. Correct the stuff, bro. Like, don't be stubborn. Don't try to be smarter than the fans and all of that. Some of this is just very obvious football. ETN is the better back. Run with your better guys. So if the effort, we watched Brandon Cox play, I think 2 or 3 too many games last year. They're just watching his effort, the selfishness that he played with last year. This year, if you're still seeing that similar stuff from older guys, move them quicker. Like that type of progress is what I want to see this Vandy game. Like this is a team that we should beat, but we just been very inconsistent. I think we could feed off some energy at home. I wouldn't bet the spread. If you like your money, I would not ever bet a spread with Billy. It's just not safe to do. He'll sit on a 10-point lead versus Vandy in the second half and play with your bread in Vegas a little bit. But that's all I got for this game, bro. Like, yeah, hopefully we can get to the 50 that spread you were talking about, and we see some Max Brown, right? I would like to see him get some reps, squeeze him in if we get some type of lead in the second half. But it's not a whole lot to be desired of outside of me wanting to see younger players play and these older players that are making the same mistakes, scared to tackle, don't want to put a hat on the hat, put them on the bench. Yeah, young wave.
Yeah. So Vanderbilt, just to go over, is 2-4 on the season. Their wins are against Hawaii, 35-28, and then they beat Alabama A&M 47-13. They lost to Wake Forest 36-20, UNLV 40-37, Kentucky 45-28, and Missouri 38-21. Having done a little bit of research, I think their pass blocking is an area where they really struggle. I know that their offensive line should not be very good. They've struggled all season from everything that I've read. I think they had a decent game against Alabama A&M, but other than that, their offensive line has not been very good. They do not have great cornerbacks either, so you have to be able to move the ball down the field and test their cornerbacks, test their safeties. Florida should be able to get open. They should be able to get big chunk yards in this game. Some guys to look out for on their team. AJ Swan is their quarterback. 1,251 yards, just throwing 53.2%, 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The Gators have to get some turnovers in this game. You have to build that confidence. I know Jason Marshall almost had an interception. I think it was him that jumped the route, almost had one, but you have to get some turnovers. AJ Swan is not a great quarterback. Patrick Smith is their leading runner with 238 yards on the ground. Cedric Alexander has 181. They don't have a lot of great receiving threats, although Will Shepard is averaging just under 74 yards a game and has 7 touchdowns. On defense, CJ Taylor and DeRicky Wright are the guys that you want to look out for there. But the Gators should dominate this game. They are not a good team. They don't have Ray Davis. Florida lost this game last year. You have to win this game. You have to get some confidence in yourself before you start to get into what is going to be the toughest part of your schedule. If the Gators sit at 4-2 after this game, then I think most Gator fans would be happy, but you have to start looking pretty. You have to start dominating some teams, and this is a way to do that. But you know, I've seen this team not get up. So,
yeah, the trend is that we do show up at home. So we'll see what that vibe. Hey, DK, whose side you on, man? Why you keep bringing up the Miguel Mitchell stuff? You gotta let it go. I've killed the hive. Young wave, man. Let's not talk about that. I said he would start. He did start. He still started. But now, like my take, I'm mad that it's wrong right now. You know?
Let's get to Shannon's question earlier. Love to hear the opinions of Silk and DT. What will happen if Vandy comes to town and wins? Shannon's trying to stoke a fire here.
Yeah, I think every coach is going to get added with death threats.
Yeah. Don't do it.
I'm not encouraging it, but that's the type of shenanigans I expect. Like, you know, Tiki Torch vibes in Gainesville. If he lose to Vandy at home after the show we got last week, going on a losing streak to Vandy would just be atrocious. That seat would be scorching hot. He lose to Vandy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I didn't think that there'd be a way that Billy Napier could ever get fired this season. But if you lose this game, the schedule is downhill from here.
Yeah,
so,
all bets is off.
All bets is off at that point. But no, I do think the Gators should dominate this game. It is at home. It is a little bit later in the day. Get yourself used to not playing at 7 or 7:30, whether it's home or whether it's away. The sun will be shining. If you are planning on going to the game, go be loud, go support the guys that are there. But I don't know if I like the Gators by more than 18.5 points. I should, but I don't know if I do.
No, I wouldn't bet it.
I wouldn't bet it. Wouldn't
do that.
So
like money.
Let's wrap up the show then. We'll do one final ad read here in a second, but let's get your thoughts. You're predicting a Gators victory this week. Who do you have as your playmaker on offense, your X factor on offense, and then X factor on defense?
Playmaker on offense, bruh. Like it's tough. Etienne. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Etienne. You gotta get him the ball. Existence. Yeah, speak it into existence, man. I'm not gonna get sexy with it. I got sexy with it last week, and then like my guy ain't even play. So shout out to that, bro.
He didn't have his gloves on.
Like crazy to me, bro. Like I got my own lies to tell. Don't give me extra lies.
We got a show to do here.
Got a show to do. We got me looking crazy out here. Now I got Etienne on offense. We doing X factor on offense as well.
Yeah, is that your X factor on offense, or is that just your breakout player?
That's my player of the game. I think we have to anchor. We have to run the ball through Etienne in the offense. I don't care who we playing. Like you got to run it through him to be successful and for this thing to function like it's supposed to. The offense line need to block. So I'm gonna go Etienne. Okay. X factor. I think Arlis Bordenham has a a shake back game. Okay. So I make him my X factor on the offense side of the ball. Defense. Let me go with Shelby Collins.
Kelby Collins, yeah.
Kelby Collins, my bad. Let me go with Kelby Collins just because I want to see some the young boys arrive. Mm-hmm. That's my vibes on the defensive side of the ball. If I have to go with an X factor, sheesh. Give me Bryce Thornton. Play both true freshman safeties. Give me them vibes on the back end. Players that want to run an alley with some mean intentions. Too much soft shit going on my defense this past week. I like the action I seen before this past week, but this past week was that was Grantham vibes. I was not feeling the tackling, the intensity. Like it took us a while to shaking out. My linebackers just never fit gaps right as well. Wouldn't mind a shake back game from Shamar and Schools. I didn't realize Schools was leading the team in missed tackles. He's been playing well, but bro, if you're playing well in those early games, clean up that mess. Like the misses, you could get to an elite level. But I want to see my linebackers play better fit football. This is a offense that we should be able to shut down and not allow a score. So get back into y'all vibe. Get back into that trajectory where we was heading. It was like a top 5 defense before this debacle this past week. So I would like to see them trend back that way defensively.
Like that. Let's go on offensive side of the ball. I'm going to go with, I guess, just Ricky Pearsall. I think that he's your most reliable threat. He's been good in each game this season. I just don't think that Florida has a lot of other options, especially with Caleb Douglas out. X factor. If Eugene Wilson can play, then he's both my X factor and offensive player in the game. Would like to see him play. We like what we've seen out of him thus far, but it's been very minimal, right? So really want to see that. Would love to say one of the offensive linemen can be the X factor as well. Would love to see a bounce back game from an Austin Barber, from a Damian George. Would love to see some better run blocking from Micah Mazuka, but there's been nothing this season to show me that I can give that faith yet. So I got Ricky and then Eugene on offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Jalen Kimber. I think he's going to get an interception in this game. And then my X factor, I really like Bryce Thornton. I think that he's a great pick there. So I'm going to go with you said Kelby Collins too. Those are 2 great picks. I'm going to go with Scooby Williams. I'm going to go with him getting a bounce back game this week against Vanderbilt, trying to hold them and minimize them. And I like him for maybe getting a sack or a PBU or something off the stat sheet that's not just a tackle or potentially a hurry there.
Is Artist out a few weeks? I didn't know Artist was out a few weeks. Artist Bordenham, he's out a few weeks.
I don't know. And there was some injury concern there. I don't know if anything's been said yet, so we'll be on the lookout there. Let's see. It is homecoming in Gainesville this week too. So if you're going to go, I know that they're getting Jason Derulo for Gator Growl this year. Silk, what are your thoughts on Jason Derulo?
Yeah, I'm a vibe.
Yeah,
I can stay home for that one.
Yeah. Flo Rida last year, Jason Derulo this year. We're about 10 years late, but that's what we do at Gator Growl. The game is at 4:00, so be there 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think before the game is when they do the Gator walk. So sometime around 1:45. Gators look to go 4-2 against 4-2, and then hopefully get this win over Vanderbilt. Let's get one final ad read. I think I got Song of the Week, so I'll look that up. Go support our friends over at Home Field Apparel, homefieldapparel.com. If you are looking for Florida Gators retro logos, gear, wear, all of those kind of things, they have them with about 20 different options. They're up to about 80 or 90 different schools now as well. So again, it is the holiday time. Go take a look if you have a friend, coworker, spouse, family member that maybe went to another school as well. Great stuff. Very comfortable shirt. So again, homefieldapparel.com for your retro sports gear. So let's song of the week. My boy Shane Smith has a new song out. It's one of their first new songs in a while. So that song.
We have our standards conversation.
The grays between. Oh, let's have our standards conversation.
I just thought about that. Well, we talked about early in the show. So what's your take on the Gator standard? I have mine. I tweeted a little bit. I didn't want to get into my entire bag of it, but
do you want to know my real Gator standard? Is that I don't know what Florida's Gator standard is. Right.
Correct.
So Florida's been around since 1906, I think, is when they played their first football. Right now, Gator coaches average 4.6 years at the University of Florida. Up until the 80s, when Florida got in trouble for doing some illegalities and, got some wins vacated, that kind of stuff. You had a couple players sprinkled in there. Obviously, your Jack Youngbloods, your Steve Spurriers. You had a Heisman Trophy there. Florida's success really came in the 90s. And then we had Ron Zook. Florida was 8-3 or 8-4, 9-3, those types of seasons. Florida obviously goes and gets Urban Meyer. You have a lot of success over the course of 5 years. Florida has a fan base that expects that Florida is going to compete for a national championship every year. And I think there should be an expectation with the talent here, the resources that you have, and everything else, that Florida should be able to compete. Florida has not competed for a national championship or been in that conversation in those 118 years, 17 years that we've had, except for about 15. So that's where I struggle with what the Gator standard is and what the Gator standard should be. I want to compete. I want Florida to compete. But there's about 15 years and about 118 of them where Florida did compete. So I don't know what the Gator standard is. I know what we want it to be. I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just words, in my opinion, right? Like, even with the Gator standard, it's an entire university thing. It should be, right? And you look at the Gator standard, we're like one of the last to get player-only facility, one of the last to get an IPF. Like, what is the standard? Are we keeping up with the standard of college football in a totality? Like, it's just way deeper than that. You just got to have more, like, rationale as a fan at this point. Like, it's cool to say a standard and hold these coaches and players to some, figmentation of your imagination. Like, it's not real, right? But when you look at it on paper, like, what has the standard been? Like, arms race, we've been one of the last. Like the dedication to recruiting and all of that stuff. We've been relying on Florida's natural resources of athletes and kids just wanting to come here because they live in Florida. When that faded out, so has the standard faded out because nothing was drawing them here. We didn't keep the standard of the facilities and the care of the programs and whatever else it came to pull these kids here. There was no standard. You got to have more of a realistic expectations with all of this, man. I'm a cheer, hoorah, but losing your mind and saying this is not the standard is just not reality. I want to compete for championships every year, but that hasn't been a reality. And I'm not going to lose my mind and have rants about coaches every 2-3 years talking about a standard that don't exist.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. And we want Florida to be something that Florida historically has not really ever been. Right? They were a program that during the 80s, had some success with Charlie Pell, and you had some seasons in there where Florida did okay, leading up to Steve Spurrier. And then obviously Steve Spurrier's programs won a ton. You can argue that the SEC was nowhere near what the SEC that we view it now is. Urban Meyer capitalizing on Ron Zook's recruiting and some of the players there, ends up leading that team to a national championship twice, right? They go undefeated that final year of Tim Tebow, and you would have thought Florida went 0-12 during the regular season. I mean, they were calling for benching this and, firing this coach and firing that coach, that even when Florida has had success, it's never been good enough, right? And it's a standard that Florida hasn't been able to uphold for the last 13 years since Urban Meyer left, or 12 years since Urban Meyer's left. And Will Muschamp had a lot of mistakes. He was run out of 10. Jim McElwain was run out of 10. A lot of people say, hey, Dan Mullen's that guy. He was run out of town. Right now, Billy Napier is being threatened to run out of town. You're already run one of his coaches off of Twitter, and you're a year and a half into this experiment as well. I think that the standards that Florida has from a fan base, the reactions to it, is a reason that no matter whether people want to admit it or not, Florida has the reputation of a fan base that they have. And maybe Florida isn't going to be a school like Alabama in terms of the way that they invest money into that, or some other schools that are, there that are investing money like you wish Florida would. Florida's also now either the number 6 public school in the country, according to U.S. News World Report, or the number 1 public school in the country, according to the Wall Street Journal. Florida as a university cares a lot more about a lot of other things than just football. And that's not something that's ever going to change.
And that's wrong with that. It's just living in reality, right? Like, and I know that about the University of Florida at this point. When you start seeing guys, we've been around this for a little minute now. We're going to wrap up the show, but we've been around this thing for a little minute. I've been on social media. Everybody want to, bring up old stuff or whatever everybody's spin is on this, bro. I'm going to keep it positive because I'm around these athletes, and everybody's easy to be negative, right? We critique this entire show. We talked about the the capabilities and the incapabilities of this staff, the ups, the downs. We do that every single week. We hold the staff accountable to whatever they're not getting done on the field. But we do it in a way that's digestible and not negative. You know what I'm saying? We watch guys like Michael P. Ryan who love the University of Florida. Kids that came here and sweat blood on the field. They really laying on the line. All you got to do is cheer in the stands. But these same kids that sweat and bled on the field have said, like, yo, we got the nuttiest fans in the world. And that's just not, bro. You got to look at, like, I'm not going to enable and say, yeah, that's just every fan base. Nah, bro, I see some goofy stuff and some stuff that's just way out of, like, beyond sports. You guys just got to go touch grass. I keep telling y'all this and y'all think it's a joke, but you really got to go touch some grass. Some of you guys are really unhinged from reality. Twitter is not real life, man. Log out, go hug your kids, go see your mom. She waiting on you. She need a hug. Mother's Day went by. You ain't go by see her, but you're cursing at kids. Man, tap in, bro.
Yeah.
Leave these kids alone.
Yep. No, you nailed it. So, let's hope we meet next week. I think we might be doing a pop-up show midweek. So stay tuned for some information there on Wednesday. But think about what we said. We appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. We appreciate you supporting all the sponsors down there as well. Our friends at Gatorverse, Home Field Apparel, Alumni Hall, and Fango tickets. And we will see you guys at the same corner, same time next week.